Welcome back to Protecting and Preserving Wealth. I'm John Jack Gay. I'm joined as always by Bruce Hosler, Jason Hosler, and Alex Corey of Hosler Wealth Management. Hello, gentlemen.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Hi there, John.
Good morning, John. Good to see you.
All right, today we are talking about 529 plans. These are crucial for planning to cover for educational expenses for kids, grandkids, and more. Bruce, where do we start?
Well, 529 plans have been around a long time, and people are familiar with them as a secondary educational account to help with college for our children. And there have been a number of changes that have taken place. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expanded the qualified expenses for K through 12 to include public, private, or religious schools. So we have clients, that have their kids in an expensive school, and they could use the 529 for that. In fact, Jason, you've had one client that for years talk to us about the way they've used these plans.
Yeah, I have one client, and while they have a limitation on the deduction that they can take on their state tax return every year, this client is paying for their kids about $30,000 a semester for, education expenses at a private school for these kids. Well, they can put more than just the state deduction in there, and they can take that $10,000 per year to put towards the expenses. And even if they don't use up all of their state deduction, they can actually add that up and use that in later tax years as well. So each state is going to have specific rules on how 529 contributions, deductions, and the credit can be used over time. So it's going to be state specific there, but it's very useful for them.
So Alex, we also in the Secure Act 2.0, there was a big change that allowed the rollover of unused 529 plan accounts. And I don't want to get in the big weeds on this, but just at a high level, share with our clients what is involved with being able to roll those leftover 529 funds into a Roth IRA.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity there to be able to not only help your child or grandchild now for their education expenses, but in the future, give them a jump start for their retirement accounts. And that, again, specifically regarding the Roth IRA conversion. So what it allows for is, once your grandchild or child is done with school, you know that you don't need any more of that money for any further expenses, or there's no other kids you may want to give that money to. You can open up a Roth IRA in their name, so they own that account as well. And every year, you can make systematic Roth IRA conversions into that Roth IRA up to certain limits every year. But you can max fund that over a certain amount of time as well, up to $35,000. That's a huge, huge benefit for their long-term retirement future and security.
Yeah, huge. John, the reason I wanted to talk about 529s today was the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and the impact, because these 529s have been changed with that this year.
Yeah, so what has been added with the recent OBBBA, however many B's there are, A?
Right. Well, Jason, talk about this expanded K through 12 expenses. It became effective back on July 5th of this year, 2025, and it expands those qualified kindergarten through 12th grade expenses. And what do they include now that they didn't include before?
So previously, the first expansion allowed the funds to be used just for tuition. Now, there's other items like books, online educational materials, standardized test fees, dual enrollment fees, even tutoring and educational therapies. So, it's very common nowadays among our clients that they'll have kids or grandkids who might have some type of special need, speech pathologies, tutoring, and things like that. It's much more common, I think, these days, and you see that. This expands the usefulness of the 529s for those early years, the K through 12, before you get to secondary education. And, those educational materials, books, etc., that is definitely going to be helpful.
So the next change that I want to make sure we talk about, Alex, is the one that's taken effect on January 1st of 2026. And that's the increased annual limits for these kindergarten through 12th graders. Talk to our listeners about that.
Previously, in 2025 and in the past, the annual limit you could deduct or take out from the 529 plan to pay for those secondary education expenses was up to $10,000. Now in 2026, as Bruce mentioned, those allowable withdrawals for tax-free distributions now doubles to $20,000. So if you are in a private school system, if you need any of these other services, like we talked about for special needs children, in an example, that can go a lot further in terms of that tax-free money that you need to help pay. That's a big deal, I think. And nothing's getting cheaper. We all know that. So this helps you for those expenses, and you've been saving in those accounts for hopefully a long time. You've had good earnings over the last few years, so now you can maximize and use some of those extra earnings if you need to for those expenses now.
So, John, I guess kind of the last thing that I wanted to point out, there was a change with the OBBBA, is the post-secondary credentialing program. So in July of 2025, the OBBBA expanded the 529 funds that can now be used to pay for the tuition and expenses associated with post-secondary credentialing programs, including professional licenses, certificates, like a registered apprenticeship, and continuing education courses, even if offered outside of traditional higher education institutions. So the programs must be recognized under federal law or by a formal credentialing organization. But just think of trade schools and things like that. These 529s, they just expanded where everybody can use it. And for continuing ed, those of us that have professional credentials, that's kind of cool. I mean, I've always told my clients, hey, if your grandkids don't use all the 529, you can use it for a golf school or something like that. But
we are going in different directions there, Bruce. You're thinking golf school. What I'm thinking is we have in this country such a lack of skilled tradespeople, and folks, as tuition is going up for colleges and universities, there are so many folks that realize they could become a plumber, an electrician, something in those skilled trades, and make a really nice living without having this mountain of debt. And now you're telling me on top of that, you can use this 529 money for those types of programs. That is absolutely huge, whether you're golf or not.
Well, and my point is yeah, you want to use it for the kids and the education, and you can change the beneficiary. But you wouldn't do that anymore. If you had one kid that wanted to be a doctor and they're going to go to post-secondary and they allow that now and everything like that, but the other kid was like, hey, I want to be a diesel mechanic.
Yeah.
By the way, diesel mechanics make pretty good money. Yeah. Or an airline mechanic on an airplane. Mm-hmm. They can use these 529s for those type of programs now. So the kids out there that are looking for an educational career is much wider with these new rules of the OBBBA regarding 529 plans.
Absolutely. I think it's a really good place to leave it for today. Gentlemen, if anybody listening or watching wants to talk to your team at Hosler Wealth Management about planning for educational future or really anything about their financial future, what are the best ways to reach you?
Well, certainly on the website, they can reach us at hostlerwm.com. In Prescott, Jason, where would they call you?
Give us a call at 928-778-7666.
And in Scottsdale, Alex?
480-994-7342.
Learn something every time I talk to the three of you guys. We'll talk again in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, John.
Have a good one, John.
Bye, John.
Investment advisory services are offered through Mutual Advisors, LLC, DBA Hosler Wealth Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Mutual Securities, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Mutual Advisors, LLC, and Mutual Securities, Inc., collectively Mutual Group, are affiliated companies. Forward-looking commentary should not be misconstrued as investment or financial advice. The advisor associated with this podcast is not monitored for comments, and any comments should be given directly to the office at the contact information specified. Any tax advice contained in this communication, including any attachments, is not intended or written to be used and cannot be used for the purpose of 1, avoiding federal or state tax penalties, 2, promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any transaction or matter addressed herein, and 3, tax preparation and accounting services are offered independently through Hosler Wealth Management Tax Services. Any tax advice provided by tax professionals under Hosler Wealth Management Tax Services is separate and unrelated to any advisory or security services offered through Mutual Group. The accuracy, completeness, and timeliness of the information contained in this podcast cannot be guaranteed. Mutual Group does not provide tax or legal advice. You should consult a legal or tax professional regarding your individual situation. Accordingly, Hosler Wealth Management does not warranty, guarantee, or make any representations or assume any liability with regard to financial results based on the use of the information in this podcast.